One last thing I was thinking of, I wanted to tell you that I found very interesting too. What do you see? The labels are on the same side. The left-handed 70-30 and the right-handed 70-30. I was hoping the left-handed was a mirror of the right hand. I was hoping the grinds were obvious, that it was opposite, that they were symmetrical mirror images. I hope to see the label. This is a right-handed knife. The label is on the right side. I hope the left-handed knife was labeled on the left side. That there was a distinction, a way of telling what it was. But they're not. They're not mirror images like the right-handed knife, single-sided, compared with the left-handed knife, single-sided. Now that's not to say that they're all labeled like this the same, which makes it more complicated. There may be knife makers that label the left-handed knife on the left side. I can't say. I asked my friend John Broida if that was the case. He said maybe. There are too many different knife makers to make those generalizations. He's not familiar with them all, even though he's a knife importer. I've looked at hundreds of catalogs over and over and over again and haven't seen that answer, which is part of the reason why I bought these two knives, looking for that answer, hoping that the right hand and the left hand were mirror images, and that if it was labeled on this side on this knife, it would be labeled on this side on this knife, but it's not. So it made it more complicated and it made it more difficult. And then just to add one more thing, excuse me, back to interject. I used to think the handle told you something, told me something. The handle is symmetrical. It's an ambidextrous octagonal called wa, Japanese style handle. This is an asymmetrically ground 70-30 knife. It's not indicated. It's not labeled. You have to know what you're buying. Or the person who bought it has to tell you what you're sharpening. But unless you have a vast, intimate knowledge of manufacturers, I don't know how you would ever know that this is a 70-30 right-hand ground knife unless someone told you to look at it to see if it was that way, or unless part of your practice as a knife sharpener, your protocol when you take in a knife to sharpen, your induction process is an inspection to determine if it is an asymmetrically ground knife. I'm not sure that many of us are doing that, because I certainly never did, and I don't have to, because I have a list of my knives and I thought I knew which ones are asymmetrical or single-sided and which ones aren't. I come to find out now while I'm trying to do this Sunday school knife talk that I better go back and get my T's crossed and my I's dotted, because I'm trying to educate a lot of smart people. So I better make sure that what I'm saying is correct. So I did learn that there is not a labeling method that is practiced, adopted by Japanese knife makers, that is used as a indicator of the grind. I would like to think that it's like that. I would hope to think that if I bought this particular knife in this left-hand version, that it would be obvious that the ground is a mirror and the label is on the opposite side. It's not the case with this knife. I don't know it's the case with this knife, and I don't know what the case is with each other knife. And nobody does until you actually buy it. So you need to have some indication of what you're starting with, or you need to have a keen eye to recognize these. And I got to tell you that I've had this knife for years, and I love this knife, but I never realized it was a 70-30. I knew when I bought it because I put it in my spreadsheet. So I knew it was a 70-30, but I'd forgotten. And I've been sharpening it for years just by matching the bevel height. And it's been sharpening well, and it's worked well for me. But now that I'm looking to improve my sharpening technique and better interpret what the knife is that I'm picking up to sharpening it by looking at it without having that sheet that tells me what it is. As I'm trying to learn to do that, I'm learning more about this and learning that it's not so simple. So I wanted to screw with you a little further with that the knives aren't labeled. So I don't know what to say. For you guys that are getting dropped off knives and you're sharpening them, you may be expert sharpeners and you may have your skill down and you may be making those best 75 score and 65 score knives, and you can't dispute it. It's sharp. But could you imagine how well you might be able to apply an edge on it if you really understood what that maker had intended? I leave you with that. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for your time. This has been Sunday School Knife Talk. Thanks.